What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Central Virginia Sport Performance Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jay DeMayo, and today, this one's been a long time coming. This is one that I probably owe a lot of people an apology for that I haven't gotten to do it better. Brian Bingaman is a guy who I came up with, early on, one of the really figureheads at the start of the A10 strength and conditioning, basketball, aura, if you may, when there was coaches that have been coming in and out who are doing amazing things. One of the guys who I've had the pleasure of being able to learn beside, really starting our educational careers up at Juniata College, and a guy who I've been able to see at center court at multiple institutions for multiple years, who is now taking what was a sensational strength coach and is now an athletic director. And what we're going to get into is that really just kind of the different voyage that Brian's had and all the transferable skills the strength coaches have that really we should be focusing on so that we can, not that we necessarily want to do more, but we can do more with our careers when you guys go from being, young and spry and happy and looking gray and grumpy like I am right now. Bing, bro, I am so happy to have you here. So good to see you, dude. Welcome to the podcast. How's it going, bro?
No, it'd be great. I appreciate it. That was a very nice intro. I appreciate that. To be honest with you, this is definitely on my bucket list. I'm excited that I can actually say that I'm on the podcast. You've been doing this for such a long time, and again, I appreciate all the things that you've done for strength and conditioning. I mean, this is one of the premier podcasts. So to get to be on here, I'm definitely humbled for sure because like I said, you said a lot of nice things, but as we were talking and before, just support staff guy. So that's how I always viewed myself.
Well, yeah, but shout out to Ben for pointing this out. We've known each other for a long time. We've come up together through a lot of the thick and the thin of the evolution, let's call it, of this vocation. But, let's kind of get into your voyage, into the administrative role. So really, who is Brian and how did he become an AD?
Yeah, so going, all the way back, I was at Penn State for a little bit, Duquesne, a cup of coffee, LaSalle for almost 8 years. And then at St. Joe's, I was there for almost 10, where, I met, that's where we probably talked the most. Had a great run there. Absolutely loved it. Never, ever thought I was going to leave. Had no intentions of leaving. I thought that was going to be my forever job. But, in this profession, things change, right? So, went through an AD change there, and she was great to me. Had the opportunity to leave for, a couple of bigger jobs at, I guess is what's called the Power Four now, turned that down. And then when Phil got let go, same thing. That was probably the one that honestly, people ask, why you decided to make this move, why you thought about doing it. That was really the one because that resonated with me because for a couple of things, right? Like one, I never thought that was going to happen, right? Wrong or right. I think everybody was shocked that happened. But then it was like, what's going to happen to me? And to be fair, my administration was great. They said no matter what would happen, I'd have a job. If they ended up bringing in a great strength coach to do that. And I ended up doing Olympic sports, which honestly was a promotion, right? Because I'm not traveling anymore. Got to work with lacrosse. I love lacrosse, women's soccer, got to focus on them a little bit more. But all while this was happening, Eastern University, which is a really small Division III school right up the road, one of the guys that I used to work with at LaSalle, he was the athletic director at the time, and they were getting ready to launch football. I don't know if you know or not, but I used to be at LaSalle. They dropped football, which was one of the most gut-wrenching things I think that I've ever been through, right? But when I was approached to come over and, take this job at Eastern because they were launching football, there was a couple of things I wanted. I wanted administrative experience because of what happened at St. Joe's. I was shook a little bit and, as I get a little bit older, I got the same grade going on here. I didn't want to be 55 or 60 and go through the same thing. And then what am I doing? Right? There's not a lot of old strength coaches out there. I'm not, I know it. I know what I am, right? I know how I train. I know what I do. I try to evolve, but you don't see a lot of people making that pivot at 55, 60 and going to get another head job. It just doesn't happen in my opinion. Right. So I wanted to have I knew I had transferable skills, but I wanted to learn a new skill set and prove that I could do it. Right. So that was the one thing that I said to the guy who approached me about the job, Eric McNelly, who was my mentor. He was actually down in Richmond. Um, and I was like, I want to learn to be an AD. I want to make sure football was getting done right and a couple other things. And he hit on every single one of them. So long story short, I end up at Eastern. I accept the job. I take the job. COVID hits, like literally that Friday. As I'm resigning from St. Joe's, I was there 10 years. I'm taking this new job, didn't know if I had benefits, all those fun things. And I jump in there and worked remote for like the first 6 months, like the rest of us. And then, testament to university, we opened up. We didn't have a choice. Got in, and I feel like if you can be a strength coach or an athletic trainer, or anybody during that COVID contact tracing time, you could literally do anything. But within that time, I just got a ton of extra responsibility. So I was the COVID guy, I was the contract tracing guy, I was doing policies, things that strength coaches typically don't do, right? Because again, we're a small institution, you get to wear a lot of different hats. And then as we opened up, when I first came in, I was supposed to be like a high performance guy, work on mental health, do all those types of things. And I got there, I completely pivoted. They're like, you're the game management facilities guy on top of strength and conditioning. I'm like, seriously? Like, I'm really going to do this? Because that's not what I was supposed to do. But that was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I jumped in, did it the only way I knew how, by just, working my butt off and doing all those different things. And I got to shape it and make it my own. But I was also building equity while I was there. I was coming in, I was working with every single coach in the weight room, right, which takes a lot of time. But then when the games were over, I'm staying till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night running basketball games, right? So the athletes see how hard we're working, how hard my staff is working. It helped me build a lot of equity. And then during that time, my boss's wife got a job. So he actually relocated to Richmond, Virginia. So our athletic director was working remote for almost 5 years, and he would travel up and back. But because he was traveling up and back, I became the guy on campus. And, those 5 years was just kind of drinking out of a fire hose and learning all those new skill sets and working with the athletes and the coaches and honestly, all the campus partners that you get to do when you're in a chair like this. That's what kind of gave me the opportunity to become the athletic director. And when he stepped aside last year, they set it up for me, the interim. And then I, came full circle. I became the athletic director and technically in February, and here we are. And I'm running the athletic department. So good times.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of parts to your voyage that a lot of people would probably say is crazy. But probably the craziest one is what led you to leave St. Joe, is that with that class that Phil had, for those that don't know, he's talking about Phil Martelli, okay, who is an absolute legend, not just in Philadelphia basketball, but in like basketball period. Had a class of Jameer Nelson Jr., Bones Highland, Eric Reynolds,
Yeah.
and who was the kid that's in the league right now? He was there for 4 years.
I forget who the four were, like, but yeah, so allegedly that was our class, yes.
Yeah, and he's like, but if you just give me a chance, I think you're gonna like what we have. And it's like, they're like, nah, we're okay. We forget about it. Which is just bonkers. And I know that there's going to be people that listen to this and are laughing because they know how that impacted so many other schools positively. And then the pivot that it led to, unfortunately, because, Coach Martelli is still a legend, like in everything he does. And, yeah, that I still, every time I think about that, I just shake my head and I'm just like, I don't understand. But, going back to now, Brian, the athletic director, in the 2 8-10 schools prior, and your cup of coffee that you had when you were at Penn State for a bit, when you're looking back at your time as a strength coach, what are a few lessons or things that you developed through being a strength coach that have really impacted your ability to not just take on these unique challenges in different positions, but have really been driving forces behind being able to oversee the entire department?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost is just work ethic. The way that, you and I came up, and, not to say, and again, I don't want, again, I apologize if I have any hot takes, but, the way that we brought up, in my opinion, was just different, right? Like, I remember, doing my internship and, going from being a college, a Division II kid, right, thinking I knew what I was doing and going to Penn State. And my internship, I'm working, you know, 65 hours a week. You know what I mean? And that's just how we did it. And the way that we did it up there working for John Thomas is like we individually trained everybody. So like we'd had a 6 o'clock look through and a 7 o'clock and an 8 o'clock and a 9 o'clock, and we just roll straight through all day until they were all done. So the coaching reps and obviously the work ethic that you learn during that time is you can't. That was probably the biggest, I would say, like the biggest thing I have. At the end of the day, I know that I can outwork people, especially. And no offense, I love Division III, and there's a lot of hard workers, but like coming into Division III, coming from Division I, like it was just I knew what it was going to take, and I kind of dove in to do it. Number two, being a strength coach, just the scheduling piece, right? Like we schedule so many things, we plan so many things out. It's not that much different than what I'm doing now. It's looking at, you have your training plan throughout the year. Well, it's the same thing with what my academic calendar and everything's going to be. It's just building it out. It's just different pieces that you're using instead of plugging in your exercises, your performance cycles, or whatever you're going to call it. It's, you're just planning out bus schedules now and game schedules and officials and things, which I never thought I would get excited about doing. And I enjoy doing it. Right. And then the other one is just all the soft skills that we learn, like how to have hard conversations. Now, again, in this role, I'm learning to be better at having those hard conversations, but I've always been able to do it with the athletes. It's just, now you're doing it with somebody, you're doing it with your peers. Honestly, sometimes you're doing it with people across campus, maybe parents, dealing with, conflicts with fans and things like that. But all those different soft skills, the communication piece, is just so important. And we all learn how to do that just innately by being a strength coach, right? Like, you're learning to talk in front of those big groups. You're learning how to juice people up. You're learning how to dial it back. You're, looking how to motivate people. It's really not that much different, when you're, when I'm managing my, 100 and some employees that I have in my department. So I think those are like the biggest three that I see. And then it's all like the little things, like it's all things that we can learn. Like, I think that's what makes it, exciting is I love strength conditioning and I love doing all the things, all the aspects of strength conditioning, but it's really fun learning new things and learning new skill sets and having that, that growth mindset and the openness to learn those things and going through processes and how you can make your processes better. Like that's the stuff I think that is super exciting. And, that's kind of helped me over my transition, I would say.
And now the other thing that I think could be really interesting and helpful for especially the younger people, because we could sit here and talk about the work ethic and back in our day and coaching's 8 teams, 9 teams, 10 teams in a day and what that meant. And I'm sure that people at this point, after hearing it out of these 20 some odd episodes this season, hearing it for the 20th time, are probably like, okay, old man, on to the next one. But I think that what could be really good is a guy at 3 different institutions, at 3 different levels in a sense, but all 3 having managerial positions, all 3 having hiring potential. What does Brian look for now versus what he looked for when he was at LaSalle versus St. Joe? How has that evolved for people that you're looking to hire and bring on? And what are some things that these younger coaches may need to kind of cross their T's and dot their I's with a little bit more when they're looking at this stuff?
Yeah. And it's funny, when I was a horrible manager at LaSalle. So bad, so bad. If I could talk to 25-year-old Brian, definitely have I don't know if I would have listened to me, but I would have tried it. But I think honestly, it's from being from St. Joe's and even here, it's not that much different than what I've always looked for. Like it's part of it is trying to find somebody that has that work ethic, right? Like you want somebody that you can see is going to have that work ethic, right? You're going to need somebody that you're going to be able to kind of get along with. You're going to need somebody who knows how to be professional, which I think is super important, right? Like those people skills, I hate to say it, it's like that common sense, like learn it, keep it in the fairway, making sure they're not going to get themselves in trouble. And a lot of it too is feel, because especially now, and again, I'm learning a lot of different things in this role because I sit in a lot of different hiring committees, but like right now with AI, like I could, if Jay DeMayo was posting for an assistant basketball strength coach, I can go and take my resume, I can pull up Jay's job posting. I can drop it into whatever I'm using. I say, tailor me my resume so it matches what Jay's looking for and write me a cover letter for this. Right. And I could get this perfectly printed out. Like you're looking at this, I'm like, oh, this guy's really good. But then I've still got to be able to go and sell what I'm right. Like I still have to sell to you what I'm doing. And then I think us being in the role that we have and working with so many athletes and coaches and stuff in the past, like I feel like we have a pretty good BS radar. So like being able to, as you're going through that interview process, like really trying to learn to ask those right questions so I can get down to the core of it. Of you're telling me that you're going to come in and grind and you're telling me you can do this, but like, what was your last job and what were, how often, what did that day look like? What are those things? Like learn and ask those right questions. I think that was probably one of the things I've learned most. And that's just, honestly, that's just like us coaching up reps. That's me sitting on all these different interviews and hearing all these different departments and people that I've worked with asking all these really good questions and me sitting with my notebook writing them down. You know what I mean? So I think I think that is probably one of the biggest things that I learned is just making sure that I'm asking the right questions to try to get to the candidate I want. It's still at the end of the day, like you can go through a full hiring process. You can have a full candidate, you can have a full panel of coaches and stuff. And at the end of the day, it's still going to be a gut decision because you could be wrong, which is really tough because, now I'm in charge. So if I make a bad hire in another sport, I'm going to have to deal with it down the road in some way or the other, but it's also a reflection on me. So it's definitely a bit of a challenge, but it's also, I think it's fun. I think it's fun trying to find those people and going out and recruiting and just find people that, believe in the mission of what the university is and getting the right people that fit within my team and what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So then what would Administrator Brian tell LaSalle and St. Joe Brian to make sure that he's ready for this position?
See, it's tough because I think with that, like I could definitely, again, if I'm talking to old me, I could definitely maybe a couple of points would like pay attention to like the small things, like maybe get interactions with, some of the administrators and things like that at LaSalle, try to shadow. But honestly, I don't think they would have let me do it. You know how that goes sometimes. Like if when you're the strength coach, like sometimes you're the strength coach and there is nothing wrong with being the strength coach. But like I remember being there a couple of times and asking if I get additional administrative responsibilities, and they're like, no, you're good in the weight room. I'm like, all right, well, fine. So, maybe I would say jump a little sooner, but honestly, I don't think I would change anything because I think the path you're on is the path you're supposed to be on, and it's going to kind of end up the way it's supposed to be, and you make the best of what it is. Like I honestly don't even know if I would give myself that much more because I don't think I would have had those opportunities. Maybe telling myself to read the room a little bit better, you know what I mean? And try to come to a decision of what you really wanted to, what you wanted to do besides strength and conditioning, try to figure that out sooner. But I don't think it would have helped me. I think I needed to be exactly where I was and go through exactly what I needed to go through to get to where I'm at. So sorry, that didn't really answer your question. I apologize.
No, but it does, because I think that what that tells us is that the skill sets for people to be able to move into these administrative roles are actually built into what we do. And if you
100%.
end out honing your craft and how you organize things and your standards you set and holding people to that, then that's the greatest transferable skill that we can have.
100%. And the tough one is too, is it's a fine line, right? Because you don't want to be a yes man, right? Like you don't want to be that guy in the department that's a yes man and you're constantly doing every single thing that you want to, but you also need to figure out a way to like provide value and show, whoever your administrator is who oversees you or your coach or whatever, that you have other skill sets, right? And you want to be able to do it. And that I think is a challenge. But then again, going back to being an administrator now is like, you have to have somebody that you report to that believes in what you're doing. And, and if you truly feel like you want to get into something else, like you want to do a different role or you want to have more involvement in the athletic department, like you need to learn to go and talk to that administrator and have that hard conversation and let them know that you want to do more. And if you're not getting more and they don't see it, then you need to talk to them and find out why. Like why, I'm coming to you, Jay, I'm coming to you, I want more administrative responsibility. I want to be able to do this. This is my career path. This is where I see myself in 5 years. And if you're not giving me feedback on how I could do that for better or for worse, like I think these young coaches just need to learn to have that conversation. But they also need to understand that after having that conversation, your administrator might be like, nah, you're not built for this. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I appreciate that you want to do this, this, and this, but the way you conduct yourself, like, I can't put you in front of a room. Yeah, like you got to put some sleeves on. Like you can't be a comic book. You can't be a character on the sideline. Like you have to like be a little bit, those type of things. Like you have to be professional. And that's the hardest thing I think that some of the young coaches get, because you want to do all the cool things that look great on Instagram and, be that sideline guy and hype dudes up. And trust me, I'm all about that. But like, that wasn't me, and the other one is too, is like, it's hard to get that person to be an associate athletic director sometimes and sell that to your board member, your president, and all that stuff. Because, sometimes those roles that how you conduct yourself. And I'm not saying it's better for worse, but that's how you get pegged, and then you're siloed and it's hard to move from that.
Oh, 100%. Like, because as soon as that thought process of you're the X guy or you're the X gal permeates, that virus never leaves. And it's what you are the entire time you're there. And then you have the fun but unhealthy decision to make of, is it worth it? Am I going to continue down this path? And am I okay with being where I am? Or is it time for me to branch out elsewhere to become a different thing?
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. And the other one is too, is like, we talk about like, how you get into administration. There's so many different things you can do with administration, right? It's not, that was the one conversation I had this with a couple of coaches. Everybody's like, oh, I want to be an administrator. I want to do administrator. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to manage people? Do you want to be a sports supervisor? Do you want to, do game management stuff? Do you want to be the bus schedule guy? Like, there's so many different avenues that you can get into. I think if you're a young strength coach, is you need to figure out exactly what you want to do and how you want to attack it. And if you're a personality guy, maybe you should figure out a way to do development. Those development jobs turn over all the time. Like, can you sell? Can you sell your program? Like, you can get people excited. Are you great at talking to people? Maybe that's what you should be doing. But there's so many things that within this, and if you want to be an athletic director and run the athletic department, then you need to know how the entire athletic department runs. And I think too, us being support staff, and you never really see support staff people getting these type of roles. Like, we really do understand like how the athletic department role runs, for better or for worse. You know how the athletic training room runs. Like, think of how much you talk with them. Academic support. You could probably tell me everything about academic support because you work hand in hand with them all the time. Like we know how things run. We just, really need to, have those conversations and sell ourselves and get someone in our department to believe in us, so you have the opportunity to take that step forward when something's open.
Yeah. And then understanding the difference between advocating for yourself and your time and just picking fights.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And that was the other one too. This is my other piece. Someone asked about this in the last, I was at the Penn clinic, about advocating for yourself and like asking for raises and how you had those conversations. Like, if anybody's, if you're still listening, I appreciate you. But like, do not ask for a raise in July. You're not getting it. Budget cycle is done in like February, March, April at the best. So if you think that you deserve a raise for what you're doing, you need to start talking to your person right now and get that on the get that on the agenda. Because if you're coming in July or August, probably not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, right, is a lot of the time people will go and say, well, I should get more, but there's no because. And you have to be ready that no matter what your because is, you have to remember that in a business, if you are paying someone to do job X, unless X has an addition to what it is now, the likelihood of you just being given more money because is not very good.
100%. And the other one is too, and I've seen this now from being in the chair, is it's not just us. It's not just strength and conditioning that are underpaid, under market value. It's literally everywhere. Try being a sports information director. Like, that's not an easy job. Like, you're talking about getting, working, like those guys work. And honestly, a lot of them aren't compensated the way they're supposed to. Same, athletic training's starting to get a little bit better just because the market is kind of dictating that because there's a bit of a shortage. But that's the hardest one too. And the other one is like looking at your situation. Like I understand that, there's a certain amount of money that you need to make to live and things like that, but it's got to be within your means too. Like if you're like the fifth assistant someplace or the number two at a D2, like I'm sorry, like you need to have an additional revenue stream. Like your schedule, unless you're probably working football and you're getting ground into the ground, Olympic sports, like you probably should have that additional revenue stream. You should be out training people. I know you have a couple of things going. Ben, like talk about a workhorse. Like that dude is an absolute workhorse. I've never seen anything like it. Like if he's not in the gym, he's out training kids. I'll probably drive home and see him training kids out at the park here. Like that guy's a workhorse, but we've always done that. We were trying to run camps. We were trying to raise money in the summer because we loved what we did, but we needed to make extra money. And I think, I know that's tough and you can't do that forever and you can only grind for so long, but I just, if you're not in a situation where they're going to pay you what you think you're worth, you either need to leave or you need to make the big time where you're at, like McKeefery always used to say, and get a bunch of different revenue streams so you can continue to do what you love and where you're at.
Yeah. And I think that now more than ever, there's ways to build things out that aren't very expensive to start and then determine whether or not it's worth time to scale it, like, especially if you can systemize anything, even like, the one that people like to jump at now all the time is like training people through your phones, right? And like, I've dabbled in it a little bit, probably not as much as I should, but I'm kind of looking at making like a bigger step into that with some stuff. Because if you can build out programs that are simple, progressible, and scalable, then, which PS, spoiler, that's what we do. We should be doing, right? And you can build out things within platforms that take as much of the guesswork out and the issues that could arise, and you give just a little bit of time to these people or groups to just discuss things or walk through things and take notes about frequently asked questions and troubleshooting things that can just be zoomed out consistently. There's a lot of people that make a lot of money on that, like a lot of people that make a lot of money on that, and I think that it's something that doesn't take a lot of time. We have 90% of it already done. Everybody in the world's got an Instagram account, maybe a TikTok too. It's feasible. Like, and now I'm sure we're going to get all the hate in the world, because of that. And we're saying that like, we understand things suck and we're trying to do things to help people. But like at the end of the day, you've got to help me help you by helping yourself to get things going, because eventually you'll build enough for yourself. And if you're good enough at what you're doing and you truly are into this, those next steps come on their own.
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, it's the same thing. Like I don't want it to come off. One of the other reasons of getting into where I'm at is like I really do want to drive strength and conditioning forward, especially at my department, right? Like I've got Division 3, I've got 3 full-time strength coaches, one of them is assistant AD. Like I'm doing my best to try to make strength and conditioning a priority, and that's better than anybody in our league, right? And we've got 2 graduate assistants, maybe hoping we may or may not add a third GA. So I've got 6 on staff, which is pretty good. And if I feel like training people, you can call me 7, right? I don't really consider myself a strength coach, so I am trying to drive it forward. But I also do think that, if you love it and you're in a good spot, like you've been at Richmond forever, right? I'm sure you've gone through some tough times and some tough years but you have it set up that if you probably have to walk away, you're going to be okay, right? Or you have the ability where you have things set up. So if you don't like something, you can be like, I'm not doing this. And and that's the hardest part too. Like if you don't have anything to fall back on, like sometimes you can't take a stand when they ask you to do different things. It's scary. Like I've got 3 kids. Like, I'm not, trust me, there's hills I'll die on, but I want to be able to take care of my family. You know what I mean? And that's a challenge. But, again, going back to the old guys, like Ron McKeefery's been saying this for years, like in that strength coach CEO about having all the different revenue streams. He was so far ahead of his time. with all that stuff. But like, if you're a young coach or honestly any coach, like you should have, have something else going on just in case, because you never know. Because athletics is, there's not a lot of there's job security, but there's not. You know what I mean? It's scary, and it's just I think it just gives you that peace of mind that if something bad does happen, I'm gonna be okay. I can do this. I can make it through, and it's not the end of the world. So
Yeah, or at the worst, right, you've got something that's started that now if you've only been putting 3 to 5 hours a week into, you can now put however much you want to in, and it grows. I mean, listen, we're not saying you gotta work 80 hours a week and you gotta have 2 jobs and do 20 different things, but, like, I do think we're in a vocation where, unfortunately, we overvalue what we do.
100%, a hundred
Sorry,
percent,
guys.
hundred
Sorry, but
percent.
we do. We've also, in some situations, seen people get paid that would make us overvalue what we do even more. Because some people, and listen, it's great. I'm so happy for the people that are making the millions and the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. That's sensational, and I couldn't be happier for them. But if you think you're 25 or 27 and you just finished a GA or you're moving from an assistant and you should be rolling in to an SEC basketball job making 400 grand, I'm sorry, you're delusional.
No, we're definitely. I agree with you 100%. We're gonna get crushed for that one, but I really do. And the more that I'm around it, especially maybe at this level, like we have schools that are successful that don't have strength coaches. Like, and their injury rates aren't astronomical. You know what I mean? Like they're doing okay. Like there's a pretty high level Division 3 school that wins a lot of national championships. They didn't really have a strength coach, and they just are better than everybody. Now, granted, Division 3 is Division 3, right? But it is, and it's tough because I do think that we do is important, right? And we definitely should be valued for the effort and all the things that we put in. But you're right. It's such a weird thing, and every university is going to be different, right? And they'll tell you that they value what you do, and you've had these conversations. Like, you're the best. We love you. Oh, we couldn't do it without you. Like, well, can you help me out? This is, budget's tight this year. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to get the company lines, and there's one thing to be shown that they believe in what you're doing. So no, I agree with you. And again, I guess my opinion is like I would rather dictate my own outcome. So if that means that I got to run a camp in the summer because I like being where I'm at, and I got to pay for some stuff, like why not? And then like you said, it's once you start doing it a couple of times, like Ben is the perfect example. Like where we started when we started training kids, like I had more clients than he did at one time. That dude now, like it's absurd. It's like the amount of kids that he has, but he's just stayed at it, and it hasn't done anything crazy. Hasn't marketed. He doesn't market himself at all. He just keeps doing it every day. He shows up. The couple extra hours he has, he just spends training kids, and he loves doing that. And now he's this unbelievable client base, and I think he's paying people to work for him now. But again, we have the ability to do it. And I guess you as a coach have to decide, like, would I rather just be happy with whatever my salary is and kind of complain about it, or I just want to go take care of it and use all the transferable skills and all the stuff I have to make an extra couple thousand or significantly more than that. So it's what do you want to do? So that's your choice.
Yeah, man, 100%. But no, Bing, this has been a great 30 some odd minutes, bro. I really appreciate your time, but got to get you out of here with the last question, bro. Who does Brian Bingaman want to hear from next on the podcast?
I think you guys might have connected, but I was confirmed that he never did the podcast before. My guy Tom Morris up at Penn State.
Okay.
If you don't know him, unbelievable story. Well, right after CSCCA at 14, he broke his neck in a mountain bike. He's currently in a wheelchair. Was in Indiana, won a bunch of national championships for soccer. Talk about like he is inspirational dude, motivational speaker. He'll be way better than I was. But that's my guy. Him and I GA together. Like that's who you need on next. And he said he would do it. I was doing the legwork for you, Jay.
Appreciate it. I will hit him up on Instagram when we get off the call here, man. But yeah, Bing, always great to see you, bro. Thank you so much for your time. We'll be in touch real soon, buddy.
Thank you.